Welcome to Focus, Faith, and Fueling, the Winning Edge podcast, where young athletes, parents, and coaches learn how mindset, nutrition, and faith work together to elevate performance, resilience, and overall health.
What you eat and how you think can elevate and transform your game. If you're ready to gain a true mental edge, fuel your body with purpose, and stay grounded in what truly matters, then this podcast is for you.
We are your hosts. I'm Lindsay, former collegiate athlete, author, coach, and educational coach for over 20 years, and a mom to two young athletes.
And I'm Stacy, sports dietitian, author, speaker, and nutritional consultant for over 19 years, and a mom of two teen athletes.
Today, we're joined by someone who brings real depth across athletics, education, and leadership, Titus Miller. Titus is the founder and CEO of BTL Sports Group, a consulting and athlete development organization that works with programs and organizations on fundraising strategy, leadership development, operational systems, and overall athlete growth. He's also a co-founder of Rise Academy and continues to work in education and youth development, all while pursuing his doctorate in global sports leadership at East Tennessee State University. Before stepping into leadership and consulting, Titus built an impressive career on the court. He was a standout at Spartanburg High School in South Carolina, earning all-state honors, Region Player of the Year, and multiple MVP recognitions. He went on to play collegiately at Wingate University, where he became a two-time All-South Atlantic Conference selection, team MVP, and scored over 1,400 career points. He also earned MVP honors in the North-South All-Star Game and gained experience at the professional level through player development internship with the Denver Nuggets. Now he's taking everything he's learned as an athlete and applying it to help the next generation, working across athlete development, leadership training, recruiting strategy, and the systems that drive successful programs. This is a conversation for any athlete trying to go to the next level and any parent or coach that's guiding through the journey, and anyone who wants to better understand what it really takes to succeed in today's sports landscape. Titus, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to jump right into some questions that I have for you. One is that you have put so much time and energy into working with high school athletes and youth athletes, but where do you think that most high school athletes are falling short in their preparation for the next level?
I think they fall short mentally, for one, because they just don't know. When you don't know what you don't know, it's hard to prepare for something. So they're kind of blinded. And then the landscape of college athletics has changed so much. And it changes every day. A lot of them are misguided in regards to like NIL stuff. All they see is, well, I can make money if I play ball in college, where there's a lot more that goes into it. So I think they're ill prepared in that regard. A lot of things that I see now is kids where they have this mentality where it's almost like a privilege.
Mhm.
So they may not work as hard as, they should, because they feel like, hey, everybody's telling them how good they are. Everybody's telling them, hey, you can play here, you can play there. Well, the opinions of, friends don't really matter, because the friends can't get you into school. So just having that right support system around them and somebody that can tell them, hey, you're not there yet. And, somebody to be real with them, I think is what they're lacking.
I think that that's super important because you said to be real with them, and the reality is pretty harsh, especially when you're transitioning from being a high school athlete to a college athlete. But you said a lot of things in there that I want to come back and touch on. Yes, there's money that can be made now. That changes a lot of things for kids. But what is the role that coaches and parents should really take then in shaping the athlete and their leadership skills early on?
I think it's more so on the parents than it is on the coach. I tell people all the time, high school coaches aren't necessarily hired to get players into college. They're hired to make sure they graduate high school and to keep them eligible to be able to play basketball and to win basketball games.
Right.
That's what a high school coach is hired for. So I put more pressure on the parents than I do the coach, because the parent is the ones that can talk to, coaches outside of recruiting periods. They can reach out to a parent. They might can't talk to the actual athlete, but they can talk to the parent. So I think it's important for the parent to be knowledgeable of what the requirements are for those kids to enter college, whether it's their GPA or SAT scores. And they also have to think about the fit for the kid, whether or not the program that are interested in them is a good fit for them. And ultimately, the kid has to decide whether or not what it is that they want to do past playing sports, if that university even offers that type of program. So there's a lot to go into it that to me is outside of sports because I feel like if the kid's good enough, that's going to take care of itself.
Right.
But I put more pressure on the parent to develop those leadership skills and aspects. And, coach does have some input in regards to, making a kid a captain of the team and telling him what that entails and what leadership should look like as far as the coaches go and the team goes. But as far as character building and things like that, I put more pressure on the parents than I do the coaches. 100%.
Agreed. Agreed. As an educator, I can tell you that that's like the biggest thing too is I feel that not enough is being carried by parents when it comes to like, hey, yeah, we teach and we give them back to you at the end of the day, but you still need to be that biggest influence at home. Like
Yeah.
you're the
I
parent.
think and I mean to cut you off, but I think parents, I think they just kinda wanna just lay back and just let things happen or let the coach do it, and then when the coach doesn't do it, they get mad at the coach. Well, you have a role in this too. That's your child. You need to ensure that your child is being, supported in the way they need to be supported, and you need to be knowledgeable of what's going on as well. And, that's part of my curriculum where I teach parents as well, like, "Hey, this is what you need to be looking for. This is what your kid needs. You need to call the clearinghouse. You need to contact the guidance counselor. You need to do your part to make sure that your child gets to where they wanna get to," because let's be honest, if the parent doesn't show any urgency, why should the coach or why should the guidance counselor? Why should they
Right.
show the urgency? Yeah, I think the urgency has to come from the parent first in order to put pressure on those other people to, show to match that urgency.
So tell me about what you do with the parents through your companies that you have. So I said it in the introduction. You are the CEO and founder of BTL Sports Group. You are also the co-founder of Rise Academy. So can you explain a little bit about what those companies do for the athletes in a way that our listeners can better understand it?
Yeah, so BTL is basically consulting. It's sports consulting. We work with coaches, athletic departments, athletes. I give you an example. I worked with an athlete right after college football season this year when the portal went crazy.
Oh yeah.
I helped an athlete, kind of navigate the transfer portal. Hey, this is what you need to do. This is the steps you need to take. These are the people that you need to contact and also, advise them on, hey, don't look at a school thinking I want to go to a school that's going to pay me. You want to go to a school that one has the program that you're interested in, and two, you want to go to a school that fits you athletically. Meaning, do they have a spot for you? Are you going to play? Do you have a good relationship with the coaches? Can you see yourself playing for that coach and things of that nature? And when I have those conversations with the athlete, I almost won't have it unless the parent is on the phone because I want the parent to hear that as well.
Right.
Because they need to be knowledgeable of all these things too. Because at the end of the day, they're your biggest support system. So they need to be involved. And that's kind of where, how we help with the parents. I rarely get a parent that calls me and says, "Hey, I want you to consult me on what to do next." It's usually about the athlete, but I'll include the parent so they can be knowledgeable as well.
I think that's so important. And I know, you had a lot of guidance in your journey,
I
given
did.
that your father was an incredible athlete and standout basketball player. So you had that guidance from your dad and as, your family being your biggest supporters. So I think now it just makes sense that you would take your experiences and you would become that mentor, that guidance
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. Absolutely, man. My dad played a good part. He was an educator as well as being, an athlete. So he understood both sides of it. And he actually worked in guidance. So he definitely understood both sides of it. So that was extremely helpful for me going forward. And I learned a lot from that, just kind of, listening to his advice. Now I might have been hard headed when I was young and I didn't listen in, but I heard him.
You did. And I mean, now you're doing it too. So
Right.
you pointed out something too that I think is really important is the education standpoint. A lot of times athletes are thinking sport right? And the team and their playing time and all this, and they're not really focused on the whole purpose of going to the next level. And you put a lot of emphasis on the importance of the education, not just the sport, not just being the athlete. And I'm thankful for that because, as an educator myself, we're both in that world. Your playing time stops at some point. And so we need to be thinking about these athletes and what are they going to do next? Where is it they want to go? What's the direction? And I am a huge advocate of sports, whether you stop in high school, you stop in middle school, or you stop in college, or you go pro and your career ends. I think sports shape you to be a successful leader in life in any route that you go. But I think that you saying like look at the schools. Does it have the program you want? And then really thinking about what do you want? Where do you want to go? So I thank you for putting that emphasis on that as well.
Yeah.
I
And
Go ahead.
you asked me about Rise as well, so that was a good little segue right into Rise because that is basically what we do. We at Rise, we take the athlete or, maybe they don't wanna play, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or maybe there's just somebody who loves sports and they just wanna work in sports. So Rise is an online education platform for those individuals. And RISE is
Hmm.
an acronym for Representation, Innovation, Sports, and Education. So it's an 8-week curriculum where, and it's in the works. RISE hasn't been launched yet, so it's kinda
Okay.
but it is, education based. I mean, it's if somebody wants to, go into I had an intern with a kid last year that was interested in being an agent.
Hmm.
So Rise would give him that information. Okay, these are the steps that you need to do to get in the representation. These are the things that you're going to deal with. We work on them with negotiation skills, being able to read and understand contracts, knowing that they have to go out and recruit players that they want to represent. I kind of give them all of the tools that they need to be an agent. And sometimes they're not ready to sign up for that. So it's
Right.
good it's good to let them know, like, okay, this is what you want to do. All right, this is what you're gonna have to do. And sometimes it's like, whoa, that's a little bit much. I didn't know I had to do that much.
Right.
So I think it's good in that aspect, but it also helps with, those who, maybe want to be a high school athletic director or, if you want to work in an NBA front office or NFL front office. So it's just that education piece. And what we're trying to do is integrate it into high school to
Hmm.
where, eventually these people can, if they're interested, they can come take my course and maybe earn some college credits going towards
Okay.
that sport management degree, but they will finish the program with at least a certification initially. So,
I love
yeah.
That's amazing. That makes me so happy. I think that there are so many avenues kids can go and not and I'm a public educator, right? So I'm not knocking the system. Like I'm very much part of it, but I think there's other things that can be done outside of that or that can be brought into the school systems to really tailor the educational experience to kids. So
I agree.
I applaud you for doing that. I do want to go back and touch on something because you're currently getting your doctorate in global sports leadership.
Mhm.
And so you're not just like talking the talk, you're literally walking the walk. And you just got back from a very amazing trip. So can you share a little bit about what your trip was about and any takeaways?
Well, the trip was we were visiting various countries to study the international sport model. And it was informative to say the least to just kind of see the differences of how they do things, in Europe as opposed to how we do them here in the States. One of the biggest takeaways from me were the academies that they have in Europe. We visited OGC Nice, which is in Nice, France, and we visited their training facility, which is their training facility was top notch. I mean, they had dorms for their players, they had, lounge areas,
Hmm.
cafeteria staff, like it was laid out.
It's like a little
And
college campus, right?
yeah, it was like a small college campus,
Yeah.
absolutely. And what they do is they take kids from ages 12 to 16 and they bring them in and they develop them.
Hmm.
And when they come in, they have them sign a contract. Now, the interesting part about that to me was their ROI. how do they get a return on their investment? Well, if they develop this kid and the major club wants this kid, they have to buy them out from them.
Hmm.
So it might come to a situation where they develop the next Messi, and you get a team like FC Barcelona, for example, that wants to sign him. Well, hey, that's going to cost you, upwards of 5 million, 10 million to sign this kid if you want him. And
Yeah.
they want him bad enough, they'll pay him. That's a pretty good return on investment, because I'm sure it didn't cost 5, 10 million for them to house him for those couple of years and develop
No.
him. So that's a pretty good return on investment. It just got your wheel. It gets your wheels spinning.
Hey, they do that big time too, and different countries. I know Puerto Rico, some South American countries do that as well for baseball.
Right.
You know, and then when they go pro, it's like that player is putting money back out of that contract
Yeah.
right into that academy, the baseball academy. So,
Yeah. 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 So it's a great model. I mean, we visited a lot of places. We visited AC Milan. We was able to tour their stadium, which was nice. It's my first time ever being in a professional soccer stadium, and it was nice. That locker room
yeah.
area was nice. The walking out to the tunnel, we got the full experience. We got to sit down in the VIP seats where they let, big political individuals sit when they come to visit a game. And another big thing that I took away from that was how politics is very much so integrated into that international sport model. The culture that they have overseas, like
Hmm.
it's second to none. I mean, the culture that they have for their sports clubs and the loyalty that they have for their sports clubs is something that we don't see here in the States.
Right.
And it was fun to see that firsthand. Now there are some differences in regards to, how they, earn revenue, because they do sponsorships, but I don't think they do them to the level that we do them. So to be able to compare and contrast those different styles, like, okay, what works over here in Europe that we're not doing in the States? What works in the States that we're not doing over here in Europe? And then, for me being a sports consultant, that's a case study for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's stuff that I can put together, and it's like, okay, I'll take what's working over here and what's working over here and bring them together, and try to help my athletes in that respect, or help my ADs, or help organizations that are trying to grow, especially these AAU organizations,
Ooh, yeah.
and try to, teach them how to make some money. Because right now they're depending on parents to come out of pocket for everything. So
And it's a lot coming out of pocket.
yes, it
I
is.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I remember, when I played AAU, well, same with you. I mean, that was back in the late 90s or.
Yeah.
So
It's been a
with
minute. It's been
with
a
that,
minute.
it's been a hot minute. And I know it was a lot then for my family, but now when I tell my parents prices for select baseball, and they're like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so much money." And then the traveling even further now,
Right.
right?
I mean, when I
So
play AAU, I've never heard of anybody paying. Like, we didn't pay because we got invited. You had to
yeah,
get invited to play AAU when I was coming up. Like,
yes,
they didn't hold tryouts. They
no,
they came and looked for you. So I think the whole AAU model is a little bit watered down because of that. To me,
I
it's a
think
money
so.
grab. You know what I mean? It's just people trying to make money and using sports to do so. And I think in the end of it, the kids and the parents are the ones who suffer.
I would
Parents
agree.
suffer financially because it can cost $4,000 in the summer for your kid to play AAU ball. And the kid suffers because they're not getting the proper development, because the coaches aren't reputable that are coaching them. It's somebody's dad that played soccer and he's out there coaching basketball. He don't know nothing about
Yeah,
basketball.
it honestly, it blows my mind. It really does. Because it was never like that. It was trying to think, one of the big organizations that we had in Connecticut was
Yeah,
Starters Basketball, and you were selected,
right.
asked to come play, but it wasn't the amounts that it is today. And even, I mean, I could get into the whole thing. Houston is like the epicenter of select baseball. I feel like it's like there's 5 million teams. You don't like a team your kids on, and you want to form your own. Then all of a sudden now there's a whole new team formed. You know what I mean? And it just waters down competition. Is it really select anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
gonna
not.
go with probably not. Most
Probably
most
not.
most teams are not the what we think of as the select teams, having done that before. It's very watered down. But I wanna ask you some questions, because this is like your niche is the NIL and financial literacy and that decision making process for athletes. And given that there is so much money being made off of sports right now,
Mhm,
and there's so much money that athletes think they're going to make
mhm.
when they go into college and play, I'm going to just, in case parents or guardians listening are not really aware, NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. It's a set of rules allowing college athletes to earn money from their personal brand without losing eligibility. And it
Mhm.
enables students to profit from endorsements through social media, autographs, business appearance, like shifts away from the rules that were in place, that used to be in place. They can be paid for endorsements, social media sponsorships, merchandise, and making public appearances. And now, under the House versus NCAA settlement, schools can directly share revenue with athletes. There is a sharing cap, and NIL income is taxable. So, given this, have you seen, like, the NIL has changed a lot, but what do athletes misunderstand the most about it?
I think they misunderstand that, any school that I go to is gonna pay me to play for them. I think that's the biggest misconception. I mean, because that's the most that I get from athletes that are looking to go to college is, how do I get an NIL deal? Well, I mean, that's kinda up to you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not an NIL agent, I'm not certified in that respect, and a lot of them come to me thinking that I am. So they ask me, "Man, can you get me some NIL money?" Nah, I can't. I mean, I can advise you on how to potentially get it, but I can't guarantee that you're gonna get it. But I
Right.
think the biggest misconception is that every school has money to pay them, and that's just not the case. One of the big things that I tell athletes is when I first start working with them, I get their social media handles. I say, I need all your social media handles so I can do an audit. I'm gonna audit your social media and I'm gonna tell you what it is that you need to change, how you need to set up your social media so you can even start to attract brands because that's essentially where it comes from. Like if you don't have a large following, if you have pictures on there with your buddies with your middle finger up, posted in front of cars, flashing money, you're probably not gonna get any NIL deals. You know, that's
Now,
that's not what they're looking for. They want to see somebody that's engaged athletically, whatever sport it is that they play, maybe some behind the scenes stuff, may get ready for practice with me, that type stuff, blogs, vlogs, and they want to see professionalism. So if their social media isn't catering to that, you can forget any type of NIL deals. They're not gonna unless you go to a major university that has allotted funds there to pay you. And then every sport gets a stipend. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Every sport has so much money that they can spend, and that depends on the university. I mean, because some universities' basketball team earns more money than the football team, and then vice versa. So you have to be able to pick that university, and like you said, they also have to understand that hey, this is taxable. If they say they're going to give you know $100,000, it's not really gonna be $100,000. You know what I mean? Like, depending on the state that you're in and the state taxes, it's gonna be a little bit less. And I also try to teach them, hey, if you are lucky enough to get an NIL deal, this is how you need to take care of it. This is what you need to do with that money because there's no guarantee that you're gonna go pro and earn more. So if you're getting any large sums of money while you don't have any bills, you better take care of it.
yeah, and that actually was something I was gonna ask you was what should a high school athlete or college athlete, for that matter, be learning right now about money and financial decisions? Like, how can we better prepare these kiddos?
I actually think that financial literacy should be a class
Yeah,
in school. Like,
agree.
I mean, I don't want to take away from the educational system, but you might be able to replace world history with financial literacy.
Oh,
I've
man.
never used world history as an adult, but I use financial literacy every day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's not, please, any world history teachers don't jump on my
No,
head.
no, it's just though it's what you're in.
Right. I mean, it's just I'm just being, transparent. If the goal is to prepare these kids for life as an adult, then we need to teach them things that coincide with that. And
Yeah.
financial literacy is a big one. Like, understanding how credit works, understanding how taxes work, understanding how to balance a checkbook, understanding about assets and liabilities. you
I mean,
know,
I think you just said what your next course should be, that you create, that you
yeah.
charge, there you go.
Yeah. Well,
But my
actually, that is one of the one of the weekly curriculum pieces that is in with Rise. It's the financial literacy piece. Definitely teaching them how to manage and take care of the money and budget the money that they may make from NIL or that they will make from a career in sports. I think that's just as important as anything because it is a lucrative industry. I mean, you can make a lot
absolutely.
of money in sports.
Yep.
So, we don't want anybody to leave our program ill prepared and what to do with that type of money because it can be, making that type of money can confuse you. It can be overwhelming and you don't know what to do with it. And you just start spending, 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 and you look up and you broke,
Yeah.
so
Happened a few times, I think, to
yeah,
some
it's happened a few
professional
times.
athletes.
Yeah,
There might be a
absolutely.
might be a pattern there. What are some I'm gonna kinda jump back into the recruiting process here a little bit
Okay.
because what do you think are some of the misconceptions that athletes and parents have about recruiting? Because you talked about how parents can actually be in contact with coaches, even though
Mhm.
the athlete can't. And I think that's probably something most parents are not aware of.
Right.
So aside from that, what are some other misconceptions or
Well, the biggest misconception that jumps right off is that, I touched on it earlier, that it's the head coach's job to, get their kid recruited. I think that's a huge, 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 huge misconception. Now, you do have some high school coaches out there that, take it upon themselves to make sure that their players, are recruited, but that's not in their job duty. And I've asked several athletic directors, hey, is this in your job description for a head coach? All of them, no, it's not. It's not in their job description for a head coach. So I think that's one of the biggest misconception is that it's the coach's job to get their kid recruited. Another misconception is a false sense of reality. A kid thinks that they're D1 and they turn down an offer to go D2, D3, NAIA or JUCO because they think that they're D1. And I also think that's a detriment to the parent to, they're not being realistic about their kid's ability. And I tell parents and athletes this all the time. Okay, you didn't go D1 out of high school. Cool. Take whatever school is wanting you. If they have what you had, what you want to major in, or
yeah.
even if you're undecided, go play, earn some college experience, and the transfer portal will accept you 4 times.
Yeah.
You can
Hey,
transfer literally 4 times.
you know what's funny is I had actually had Ginny Vargas on the
Yeah.
podcast, and she said there's a quote that one of the coaches told her: "The transfer portal giveth and taketh away."
Yes, it will.
I mean,
And,
but it's
and
there for a reason.
Yeah, and another misconception, especially with the transfer portal, is that you're automatically gonna get to a new school. You can go in the transfer portal and not get picked up, and now your college career is over.
Yes.
So that is one of the things that I always try to, the first thing I ask a kid when they tell me they want to go to the transfer portal is, "Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to leave here? Because there is a chance that you will not get picked up."
The
That
grass
is
may
a
not be
real
greener.
possibility. Yes, that is a real possibility that you don't get picked up, and now your college career is over.
Yeah. Because your
So
coach has now probably replaced you.
right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, they when you left, they went in the portal and got somebody else. So your position is gone at your old school. Nobody wants you because you don't have any type of film, and that kinda goes back to social media
Yeah.
with the misconception of, how should my social media be set up? You should have some type of highlights or game film on your social media. That
Yeah.
way they don't have to go looking. They don't have to ask you for any film. It's right there on your
Yeah.
social media.
I mean, it is the quickest way to check, you know?
College coaches are not traveling too many places nowadays.
No. No.
They're opening up their phone, they're opening up their laptop, and they're typing in your name, and they're doing their due diligence that way. They're
Yeah.
looking at your profiles, they're seeing how professional you are. And another misconception is that, the parents can't talk your way out of a scholarship. They are looking at
Yeah.
your parents as well.
Okay, so
So
listen about that.
they are looking at your parents as well. What type of stock did you come from? Is your parent I've seen it where parents have asked for money and they have totally eliminated their student athlete from the scholarship. So
Yeah.
just to be, you just have to be knowledgeable. You have to do your due diligence. Even me being in this field, I have to do my due diligence in researching because things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my advice to any parent would be to do the same thing because what I'm researching, anybody can research. I'm going to Google just like anybody else to see what new trends are coming out. I'm going to social media just like anybody else to see what's
Yeah.
happening now. So I would advise parents to do the same thing. Stay up to date on the trends and govern yourself accordingly so you don't mess up your student athlete.
That's great advice. Great advice. Let's shift a little bit to career readiness and life after sports. So, because we're thinking about the whole athlete here, not just their sports career, but how should athletes start preparing for their life after sports while they're still competing? Because that's a really hard transition. I think when the game ends for us, it's a little bit of a punch in the gut mentally and emotionally, physically if it's because of an injury. But what would you suggest?
That's a good question. I mean, while you're competing, it's so hard to think about what you want to do because I think everybody that plays in college, well, majority of it, if it's ten athletes, 8 of them think they're going pro.
Yeah.
So it's hard to think past that and say, what am I going to do if this don't work out? But my advice would be to, if you want to work in sports, kind of, see how things work within the sport that you're playing at that institution. How do they set up for, events? How, game day operations? What goes on there? Is that something that I'm interested in? I can remember back at Wingate, it was one of the sport management classes we had was Dr. Teague, and he had us do a 5K. The class had to put together a 5K, fundraiser. Well, the class had to vote on who would be the game day operator. Guess who they voted? And I did not want to do it. We had different sections. I had to corral everybody and kind of make sure that everybody was doing what they're supposed to do. Hey, are you getting donations? Are you going out there getting sponsors? Are you doing this? Is everything set up for the day of the race? Things of that nature. But once I got into the role, I was like, I kind of like this. You know what I mean? I kind of like being the overseer and seeing what's going on. So I think things like that kind of help athletes determine what it is that they want to do. I can also recall back at Wingate, you had some athletes who majored in communications and they would do like interviews. So, if that's something that you're interested in, if you like to talk sports, maybe sports journalist, I would suggest to just kind of dig in, see how things operate at the institution that you're in, and kind of see what you like, see what fits you, and
Great
just kind of go from there.
advice.
Yeah.
Great advice. Let's think about networking.
Okay.
Networking and what that looks like for student athletes. So, what is the importance of networking, whether it's upperclassmen in high school or college athletes? What's the importance, and how can student athletes focus on that a little bit more?
Well, answer the first part of your question. The importance of networking is astronomical. I mean, we hear it all the time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. The sports industry is a hard industry to get into. I won't tell it, I won't sugarcoat that with anybody. Like it's tough to break into this industry. And mainly because most people hire within. I mean, they built the relationships, they've seen the work that those people have done, and they just promote when people leave. Rarely do you see them bring in somebody new. Even in professional sports, if a coach leaves, it's usually a coach that's coached somewhere else that they bring in. It's very rarely a coach that hasn't been a coach before that gets brought in to coach. They just recycle them. Uh, so that network is huge for that. I mean, because if that coach isn't networking, and I honestly feel like coaches, especially on the professional level, they're always interviewing for the next job, and
Yes.
that's, whether it's with how they interview post game stuff, how they prepare their team, their record, of course, their win loss record, things like that. I think they're always preparing for that next job, or they're always preparing with that next job in mind. But networking can open doors that, education can't. I mean, I'm in school getting my doctorate, but there's no guarantee that I'm gonna, find the work that I want once I attain it. So leading up to it, I'm networking. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm talking to people that, are doing what I, want to do post doctorate and, developing those relationships. So when that time comes, and something comes open and there's the ones who doing the hiring, they already got me in mind because I've already talked to them. We've already networked. And that's how it works. And I try to tell my athletes that I talk to all the time, man, don't be afraid to talk to people.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to get out and put yourself out there, because those networks and those connections are usually what's going to get you a job, not necessarily what you know or what type of education that you have behind you.
I think that's great advice. I just actually wrote down in my notes on my phone, every day is an interview.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that kids need to have that mentality of like, hey,
Yeah.
you're every time you step on the court, that's an interview. Every time you're talking to a coach, you're going to a camp, it's an interview. You're
Yeah.
networking
And your
constantly.
social media is your resume.
Yes.
I mean, yes, every day is an interview. Your social media is your resume because that's what they're gonna ask for once what's your social media handle?
I'm gonna post that on our social medias and I'm gonna tag you in it.
Okay.
Your social media is your resume.
It is 100%.
100%.
Your bio
100%.
is your cover letter.
God, so good, so good. I think kids don't think about that, because they're kids.
Right.
That's not their brain isn't all the way developed yet. We're not
You
thinking
don't
long.
you don't know what you don't know. Ignorance is bliss,
Exactly,
you know?
exactly, exactly. I'm gonna just ask you like one or two more questions, but I want to touch back on something for you. With you're going to get your doctorate,
Mhm.
and you operate at the intersection of the classroom education and real world consulting. And why is that so important for you?
I think the 2 go hand in hand. I think education prepares us for the real world. So I try to keep things that I educate, my athletes or, my clients on. I'm always transparent and I always tell them, the pitfalls that they may see going ahead. I just believe in transparency. I think experience is the best teacher. So in order to prepare them for that, you know, I try to tell them what's real. I remember when I was coaching, I told some of my players, they was asking me advice on, where they should go to school and things like that. And, one of the things that I told them all the time, I was like, you're going to get a lesson either way. You can either listen to me. I'm your study guide. Life is going to be the test. I'm your study guide. Or you can skip me and just go take the test blindly. That's the difference between having a mentor and having and not having one and just going out there and learning on the fly. Sometimes you can find yourself in a pitfall that's hard to climb out of when you just learn on the fly. So marrying the two, that real world experience with that education piece, I think is extremely important.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. Hey, where can our listeners and our student athletes, parents follow you to keep up and get all your advice and wisdom and contact you for the support if they want to reach out to your for business purposes too?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn is Titus Miller. I'm also on Facebook with the same name. I'm on Instagram as BTL Sports Group. That's all one word, lowercase. I'm also on X at BTL Sports __. So yeah, I think that's all of my socials: Instagram, Facebook.
There's so many now.
Yeah,
So many.
yeah. It is. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, thank you so much for taking time today to share all your wisdom and experience with us. We
No
appreciate
problem. I appreciate you. I appreciate the invite, Nancy. It was good catching up with you.
you too.
All right. You have a great one.
Stay tuned for more real world tips and conversations with coaches, athletic directors, current and former collegiate and professional athletes, sports dietitians, sports psychologists, and other performance experts.
If this episode gave you something to chew on, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe. Nutrition is important, but let's be honest, we've all got to eat. So help us feed this podcast so we can keep fueling you.
Don't forget to join the Span Athletics community to get more exclusive content by following us on all of our social media platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X at span_athletics.
Until next time, stay faithful, stay fueled, and remain focused on your goals.